Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Metanoia Effect. I'm one of your co-hosts, Portia Booker. And as always, don't forget to follow us on social media. We have several other episodes that you can watch and also listen to on all the podcast platforms. Also, just a reminder, this show is not a substitute for mental health support, all that good stuff. Remember, consult the nearest math book to solve your problems. Anyway, today, we're going to focus on something that is very close to my heart. And I shared this before we jumped on air today, that tomorrow's my mom's transition anniversary. It'll be 4 years since she physically left us. And I use the word transition instead of passed away because it really is a transition. When we think about our loved ones who have left different memories with us, some of us, we got their looks. I know that people always tell me all the time how much I look like my mom. We've also carried different pieces of them, like their wisdom, different sayings, different lessons that we've learned. And oftentimes in our world today, there tends to be this notion that once someone is gone, that's it. But for those of us who want to still hold on to that connection, that love energy, that love language, that's where the transition comes in, because transition is changing how we communicate. Right. I may not be able to give my mom a hug physically today, but I always know when she's around, whether it's the monarch butterflies that I see in the front yard or the various hawks that I see on my walks, the blue herons, the various numbers. The list goes on about the signs that we all see. But I really wanted to take the time today to really talk about that and how these people never really leave us, and also animals too. Let me preface that, because sometimes people who have pets are four-legged friends. They're our family too. They teach us things that not all the time words can teach us. So, Dawn and Robert, ready to get started? We ready like eggs in the skillet?
I'm ready.
Yes, yeah. I just want to piggyback a little bit off of that, because I always say, find the gratitude, because like this person that's transitioned, they left things behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were going through my dad's things, we found a poem that he had written, and my mom had never seen it before. And so as she's reading this poem, she's getting all teary-eyed. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm a visionary. So like anything that I can walk into his garage. Like I helped him build the roof in the garage. I helped him, he put everything together, and I just nailed it in because I didn't get his engineering skills. But like I can just stare at that roof, and it takes me right back to that day when I was a teenager, nailing those things in, trying to not crush my thumb with the hammer. It's like I can just really feel each moment. And so for the people out there who are the visionaries, it's like lean into that power, because it's a superpower.
100%. I agree, because you hold on to that stuff, right? Because I'm sure, Robert, even now when you're trying to fix something, you probably wear some type of gloves to protect your hands so you don't accidentally pull a Homer Simpson.
Whenever we're doing stuff around the house, all of us were always like, Dad would be saying this right now, or my mom is like, your father would be saying this right now. So it's like you're right; they're never truly gone. It'll be 7 years since his transition in November, and I mean, yes, it does feel like it was just yesterday, but there's so much that he left behind to be gracious for.
100%. Dawn, do you want to add anything?
Well, for me, my dad passed away 20 years ago. Last month was 20 years. And, it's still hard. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It's still, but I still have those memories, and I'll keep them forever.
Yeah, Robert, I love how you brought up about when there's family gatherings or events and people will say, well, my dad would say this, or, oftentimes that's with my great grandmother. People will bring up different sayings about her because Nanny was one of a kind. I'll just say that she had a very sharp tongue at times, and she knew how to polish things up for PR very good, but then behind the scenes, that's when the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out. So, and I get a kick out of it because, I mean, in my stories, I often share about my mom, my great grandmother, and one of the sayings that my great grandmother often used to say is that may wonders never cease. Well, she got that from The Game of Life, the book by Florence Scovel Shinn. I remember when I was little, my great grandmother was teaching me how to clean off the porch because she had like asthma. So we'd have to rinse off the porch with the hose, to get rid of all the dust and all that. And I remember one time, mind you guys, I'm like 5 or 6 years old. So of course I haven't built up like my own strength in that to hold the hose, straight. Well, let's just say Nanny got a free pool day that day for me, and it was ice cold. I got cussed out from all the way back to Texas where she was from. And then she tried to chase me in the house with the hose. So I always get a laugh out of that, especially now since we've had these like roasty temperatures. I'm like, man, I wish I could go back and just have that memory with Nanny instead, her just pouring the water on my head instead of me getting her. So we dive into our questions for today.
Okay, question number 1.
So, who is someone whose life continues to influence the way you live today, even though they're no longer here physically? And what part of them are you consciously carrying forward? Who wants to start? You want me to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go because I'm going to share something from a different direction. It actually wasn't even my dad's passing. All right, if you go back to high school. Right, one of my high school classmates was always in a good mood, always happy, always cheerful, always kind, always helpful. Like whatever positive adjective is out there, it was her. And then come to find out one day, for like maybe the last year, she was battling bone cancer. And I'm like, how did she show up every day knowing that death is coming? Because she had late stage. And back then, I graduated 34 years ago. So, medicine's a little better now, than it was back then. So she had late stage. And just, I would think about that. Like if I was having a bad day or I'm mad at something, I'm like, this girl's waking up every day wondering if it's her last. Like every single day, and just makes you look at your own things, like the things that you get mad at. Because remember, I mentioned last week, I was a hothead when I was younger. So it's like I would fly off the handle over every little thing. I'm like, and here she is with all the gratitude, with the biggest heart, with the kindest gestures, knowing any day she could die. It's like that had a profound effect on me, and that probably helped it with Dad's passing. But we had the benefit of knowing it was coming. In both instances, it's like we knew it was coming. Like there were people who just suddenly lose loved ones, and that's a different level of pain. So that's where my gratitude comes from. Like we got to be there with him when he made his transition. Like we got to say goodbye. We got to just say whatever we needed to say at the very end there. And not everybody gets that moment. So having that gratitude is what gets me through. As you can see, it still hurts, like the pain never fully goes away, but you learn to manage it better, and you use that pain to help other people, deal with theirs.
Robert, I feel that. I mean, when I think back to my mom's transition, very few people, as you mentioned, especially if it's a sudden loss or transition, you don't have the opportunity to tell them how much you love them, to tell them thank you. I'm very grateful to this day that the very last conversation me and my mom had an hour before she took her last breath, I have it recorded on my phone. And I don't know what told me in that moment, Portia, you need to record this. Because my mom essentially gave me multiple gifts. As I mentioned, I look like her. I have a lot of her traits. But she told me, Portia, go for it. Portia, go for your dreams. Because she knew that me being a caregiver of her all those years, that I'd stopped doing stuff. I'd stopped living because my life became revolved around caregiving for her. And so for me, I always carry that with me. Portia, go for it. Portia, go for it. Because that was what my mom always wanted for all her kids. Not just one of us, but all of us. But also the fact that I got to tell her thank you. I got to let her know how much I appreciated her. And she told me back, she's like, we did it. She said, we did it till the end. And I'll always be grateful for that very moment. Even though it was bittersweet, it was very hard to watch as she left us. I stood there to the very end, but I knew that she was at peace, and that's what I wanted, because she struggled. She fought hard. Her lung condition, she definitely was a trooper. I mean, she was in the military, so I guess she carried that with her too. But I will say I'm very grateful every day for the moments that I had with her, being able to tell her thank you, and the things that I continue to carry today. What about you, Dawn?
Well, I love that you guys are talking about the gratitude, because my dad did die suddenly. It was the day after Father's Day. He was mowing the lawn. He had a heart attack. But because it was the day after Father's Day, my last words to my dad were, I love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day. I'll see you next week, because we were actually traveling to Ohio to go visit him. So I have that gratitude because, there have been weeks that I wouldn't talk to him on the phone. And because it was Father's Day, I did get to talk to him, and I did get to, my last words were, I love you. And, that's a gift that I always carry. And, one of the things, the question about how did they continue to influence how you live today? I remember when we were little, anytime my dad would go to the grocery store or go anywhere, he's always telling ridiculous dad jokes, to the cashier or, people that random strangers. And I do that today too. So even though we would roll our eyes when we were little kids, now it's like, oh God, I do that. So I carry that from my dad, and I love that I'm like this because I make people laugh, I make people smile, people feel seen when they encounter me, and that's what my dad did, and I think he taught me that.
Wait, Dawn, I need a joke now.
Oh, I'm very impromptu. I'm very impromptu. My dad would tell like these rote jokes, like full on joke. I'm not a joke teller, but I will say the silliest things to make people laugh just because that's what I do. So it's a little bit different, but he had this ping pong table joke. I can't even remember it, but he'd tell it to everybody. And we're like, oh, that. It's not even funny. We loved it. And so we that's what we think about. And we talk about when we're remembering him, we talk about the silly ping pong table joke.
Well, wait, I got one. Dawn, don't tell the answer because you know this one. Robert, what did the grape say when it was not picked from a vine? Dawn, don't say anything because you know this answer.
What do you say when it wasn't picked from the vine? I have no idea.
I concord. Well, Dawn made the joke even better because when I said it yelled, I concord, she was like, wait, did it whine or did it yell?
See, I was actually thinking something along the lines of wine. I just didn't say it. Love it. All right, let's go with question number 2.
All right. If your loved one could see the person you've become since they left this world, what do you think would surprise them most? And what do you hope would make them proud? Dawn, you want to start?
I guess I can. I think my dad would be proud of the work that I'm doing and the woman that I've become and the way I help people and how I've shown up in my life. So I'm pretty sure he would be very proud of me.
Okay.
Nice. For me, I'll stick with that. I don't think he would be surprised by anything because I get my work ethic from him, and his whole thing. If he wanted something, he found a way to get it done. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts. I think I've shared with both of you when he reversed the window and the door in our house because the table and the fridge made it so that the door wouldn't open. Normal people would have just got a smaller table, but he wanted that table and he wanted that fridge. So he reframed the entire side of the house to make that happen. So everything in my life that I want, I go after it until I get it. And he would look at that and that would definitely make him proud. And I go back again to when I was a teenager. I grew up in the woods, and at the time I wanted to be a TV star. I wanted to be either a TV star or like a famous DJ. And I remember being in the backyard giving a motivational speech to the trees. Right, the trees was my audience, and I remember, like, my mom saw me, and I remember her telling my dad, like, what this boy was doing when I came home. I was motivating the masses. I said, I have to practice. I always had this vision of being some type of motivator, some type of inspiration, some type of performer. And so, just looking at what I'm doing now, I've hosted, between this show and my other show, I think it's like close to 470 episodes between the two. I've guested on over 250. I'm in hundreds of online articles. And I think he would look at that and be like, you did it. But in Dad's way, he'd be like, now keep going. Because he never, ever let us settle. So, like, that's one thing I think he would be proud of that. Because one of the last things he said to me before he passed, I told him I was gonna make it as a speaker / podcaster, and he, pretty much similar to what your mom said. He said, "Make it happen."
I mean, Robert. Go ahead, Dawn.
Where Robert gets Robert.
Well, and Robert too. I'm kind of tickled because clearly you were putting roots down even more for the trees that were already there. You might have, because I mean, especially if some of them were just like freshly planted, your words probably empowered them in some way, shape, or form, right? You planted seeds, literally. Yes. You planted seeds.
Exactly.
Trees respond to energy. You probably motivated those trees.
Right.
That is true.
I'd say for me, I think my mom would be most surprised a little bit that I actually have a girly side, because growing up, my mom was not feeling me going out on the roof working with my uncle, working under cars, none of that stuff. My mom was not a fan. But now in this part of my life, especially with my boyfriend, we're able to do stuff like that. I love going and playing with Legos and things like that. But at the same time, I do love to get dressed up and get really nice and dolled up, which was something my mom did not see at all me growing up. She put me in modeling school. True story, y'all. She put me in modeling school. And the very first day I sat on the floor and said no. So they kicked me out. And because I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't me. Now I'm like, oh, modeling school? Sure, why not? Today. But Portia back then, absolutely not. Give me my basketball shorts, give me my basketball jersey, give me my good shoes, and let me go outside and shoot hoops like LeBron. Today, it's a combination of both. And I think my mom would be most proud that she nurtured my gift of storytelling young, and I've taken it further than just my TV career where it stopped. Because my mom was a big supporter of me taking the job. When I first was kind of hesitant, I'm like, well, Ma, it's 1,000 miles away. I don't know anybody there. And my mom was like, Portia, if it's what you want to do, give it a shot. Go for it. And I'd say now she's proud of all the different people who have shared their grief stories on Grew Up Portia, all the different, kind of like you, Robert, different articles I've been featured in. I mean, one of the biggest ones is through Kent State in the School of Scholastic Journalism, which is a big thing. Not very many people get featured in that. So I think my mom would be proud that her little girl is helping other people. Because when I was younger, I didn't understand why my mom was so giving to people, people who we could see were, kind of had some challenges. But I'm like, well, Ma, why are you this way with these people? My mom would always say, you don't know other people's shoes that they walk in every day. You don't know the struggles that they have, but they're still deserving of love and compassion. And so I think my mom would be proud that my heart is kind of softened for different things like that for people.
Yes.
See, and people need to hear these messages. Like right at 3 p.m. I'm meeting with someone whose daughter went through something terrible, and he feels a lot of guilt. And so I'm meeting with him in person, and we're gonna help him talk through it, because sometimes you just have to have those difficult conversations. You got to stare reality in the face. I'm gonna help him try to come to the other side of some level of not feeling guilty, because the other person was the bad person. It's like there are bad people out there that do bad things that we just have no control over, So it's the same thing in dealing with loss, with like someone's transition. Like what happened. Like I can't bring my father back, so I have to look at the situation through a different lens. Like I said earlier, what did he leave behind? What are the things he taught me? What are the tough love talks he'd given me? Just the flashbacks of him being everywhere. Now my mom just jumped on the stream, and I'm gonna start crying again. But just all of the stories that he left behind, the messages he left behind, the things he left behind. When we start leaning into those things, it makes, we'll call it tolerating the loss better.
Well, it makes being able to integrate it. I like the word integrate because so many people say move forward or healed. I like to say integrate because I think I've reached a point in my grief journey where I'm able to hold both the loss and the love simultaneously, where I can laugh about different memories with my mom. My mom had a way with words, just like my granny with different people. Like we have a saying about someone in our family who they got lucky to crap in a slinging jug. That's not the right word, but I'm just cleaning it up for our broadcast today. But when you really think about trying to throw something into a slinging jug, it's not easy to do. When you watch those different, games and stuff at the carnivals that have the little thing you got to throw it in there, it's not easy. So when I think about that, I laugh about it because me and my mom, that was like something we had, was little inside jokes. And so to your point, like now I've reached that period where I can laugh and cry at the same time, but it doesn't linger for so long that it keeps me down, where I'm able to keep living life and enjoying it.
Love it. All right, let's get to the third and final question.
Okay, so I'm going to give some context behind this before I read it, because I think a lot of times, to your point, Robert, when we lose somebody suddenly or at all, a lot of people go to, why did this happen? Right? And that question to me tends to keep so many people in that cycle of the grief where they're not able to integrate it, where that's their memory of their person who transitioned, that job that they lost, the friendship that ended, their pets. And so that's why I picked this question of, what question did your grief eventually teach you to ask instead? Like for me, the question that my grief taught me was to ask myself, what do I want to keep carrying forward of my mom to keep her alive? Because I know for me, it never really went to, why did this happen to my mom? It never really went that way for me. For me, it was, what can I do to keep her legacy alive through me so people can still experience her through the way that I show up in the world? And also, what belief about life died when your loved one did, and what new belief was born because of them? My new belief is that we're eternal souls. And a lot of people tried to tell me when my mom transitioned, the different signs that I experienced and seen, that, did you dream that? Did you no, I know what I felt. And I was open to keeping that line of communication open. Because 3 days after my mom transitioned, just like in the Bible, when we talked about Jesus rose from the dead, a monarch butterfly was flying in my front yard. 3 days after my mom transitioned, I asked her to come visit me. Let me know that you made it where you need to go. And so many people question whether these things are real, but you know what you feel. So I always want to tell people, nothing can trump what you feel, what you know.
Ooh, can I say something to that, Portia? Because
yes,
signs, that's really important. And I lost my dog Toby a year ago in March, and Toby wasn't even 3 yet. And Toby was my Velcro dog. Anybody that knows me knows Toby and I were codependent. And one day, I've cried every single day since, and it's been over a year. But one night, somebody had, it was on X, and they said, share one of your favorite pictures with you and your pet. And I picked this picture of me and Toby. I was getting ready to do a Zoom call from my phone, and there's Toby Velcro to the side of my head, and I took a screenshot of it. And I posted that. Well, the next morning I woke up and I was crying because I was missing Toby. And I said, Toby, could you send me a sign? Send me a sign so that I know that you can still hear mommy and you can still feel mommy and you know that she loves you. It's like 30 minutes later, somebody replied to that picture of me and Toby with a dog that looked just like Toby. And they said, wow, that looks just like my dog. I thought it was my dog for a minute. And so I was like, okay, thank you. And then my friend just lost her Chihuahua a few months ago. And she said, I talk to him every morning. And I said, ask him for a sign. And she did. And then she got a sign, like within a day of her asking, show me that you still feel me. And so ask. I always say that, just speak to them, ask. And when they show you, then you don't doubt that connection still exists. It's just in a different form.
Dawn, you forgot the other part to that story, because that dog, the other one that was posted, his name was Bentley.
His name was Lincoln.
Lincoln, that's right.
And Toby's best friend, my other dog, is named Bentley. And they're both our names. I did leave that part of it. So it was that was not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities and signs. And so I know that was definitely from Toby. And then I wanted to add this because when my dad passed, and again, we were going to go visit Ohio the following week. And I remember I was into my closet packing, and I'm like, I have to pack for my dad's funeral. Like, what do you wear to your dad's funeral? I remember gratitude came over me, and I said, Dawn, some kids don't have a dad. I got to have a dad into adulthood. He got to meet my children. Some children lose their dad when they're little. I got to have him all those years, and he was a good dad and a wonderful man. So immediately my mind clicked into, look how grateful you could be for what you do have. And so I didn't question, why did this happen? I just immediately went into the gratitude.
So for me, so for me, when Dad passed, he was very adamant for a long time, ever since like in his 50s, that he did not want a funeral. Like, he didn't want a bunch of people around crying, feeling sad. Like, he just didn't want any of that. And then even when he was sick, he was still saying the same thing. He's like, he does not want a funeral. But so for me, I never asked, why did this happen? Because this is going to sound awful, but I've been preparing mentally since the day he turned 70, right? Just mentally preparing. And Mom, if Mom's still on this stream, remember, I had the idea, I was like, why do we have to wait till somebody passes to say nice things about them? So at one of our family reunions, I believe this was the year that he turned 70, we got him a cake and we gave him a live eulogy. So at first he's like, why y'all trying to kill me off? He's like, trying to kill you off. We're just saying, like, why wait? Like, why not tell you while you're still here what you meant to me and my life and the life of my kids? It's like, we want to do that for you. So we did that for him. So in the moment, I was prepared. It doesn't mean that the moment didn't hurt. It still hurt watching the color leave his face, but I was mentally ready. So I never got to the why did this happen part. But what did we do with that information? My niece and nephew, on the other hand, took it very, very hard, where my niece was like in utter disbelief. And I was just like, it happened. He's physically no longer here. I was like, so the longer you stay in this place of sorrow, it's just going to tear you apart. Like, my nephew ended up gaining, close to 100 pounds, I want to say. He just slid down into a dark path. My brother took it very hard also. And I don't want to say I was at peace, because obviously the wound was fresh, right? But I did a podcast the very next day. And again, going back to there's no coincidences, I had booked this guest 4 months prior, and that episode happened to be about grief. It's like, who would have thought? It's like, because I'm always telling people, just face things head on. I was like, so you know what? I'm not going to cancel this episode, because I easily could have, and nobody would have blamed me for it. I was like, and I started, probably the first 10 minutes was just myself and my guest just bawling on this episode. Like, it was like the most emotional episode that I did. And I've had several emotional ones, but this was literally less than 24 hours after he transitioned. But in doing it that quickly, the more and more I spoke about it, because I started finding grief-centered podcasts, I was like, I need to just keep talking about it. And each time in the beginning, I would cry on these people's live streams. But now I'm at the point now, like, it'll choke me up for a second, but it's not to where, like, I just can't talk about it, because I'm at peace with what happened, and I lean into what he left behind.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert, I'm the same way. I think I did a radio show the day before my mom transitioned, and then I still was releasing shows afterwards.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing. I just did a whole series, and my show was on the radio then. And I just did a whole series dedicated to grief, because I knew that grief was more than what the 5 stages say. Grief was that breaking open, but also mending simultaneously. It's finding that love energy that you are putting into a person, a place, a pet, and finding a way to redirect that back to you for your transformation. So, well, that was a great conversation, y'all, today.
Yeah, it was.
We all cried.
We did. We all did. But that tells that says a lot about each of us. That, yeah, we've had our losses. They can see where we are today, but at the same time, we still hold space, because it's still hard. It's going to be hard the rest of our life, because we miss these people. And Toby, we miss spending time with them, being able to hug them, tell them that we love them. Of course, me and my mom, I'd always bite her cheek in the morning before I fixed her coffee. And I'll miss making her breakfast, but at the same time, I also know that I'm grateful for what she left behind. The lessons that I take with me, the different people who I get to impact, and the different people who I get to talk about her to. So, well, that concludes our conversation today on the Metanoia Effect. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you again next week. Peace and hair grease, everyone.
Peace and hair grease.
Peace, hair grease.